Something is happening in the American economy that almost nobody's prepared for. And frankly, most people are too distracted by noise to see the signal. Inflation is cooling, but prices are not going down. They are just staying at these miserable levels. Debt is hitting record highs every single day, while homeownership is collapsing for the average person. And a massive wave of layoffs is quietly starting to ripple through the corporate world. If you think things are normalizing or going back to the way they were, you are in for a brutal wake-up. Call that your bank account cannot handle. This is the first time in a while where I have looked around from my chair and felt genuinely uncomfortable about the direction of the American economy. I graduated college during the chaos of 2020, but I have never seen a really big crash in the economy, like the one people experienced in 2008 or the dot-com bubble of the early 2000s. You have to ask yourself what is actually happening in the world right now beyond the headlines. The first thing is that prices are not going up as fast, but they are staying exactly where they are. Inflation is cooling down, and it is not very high like it was back in 2022. But prices are still climbing year over year. It does not mean prices are falling back to 2021 levels. It just means the bleeding is slightly slower. We are still seeing the price of every single necessity go up, and groceries are up 25% compared to 2019. Rent is up 30% nationally in that same period, but wages are only up 15%. The math is simple and devastating. The cost of living is rising faster than the ability to pay for it. Even with lower inflation, people feel broke because the massive price increases have already happened, and they are permanent. The middle class is getting completely squeezed out of existence, and the median American can no longer afford renting a home. Mortgage payments are 2.5 times higher than 2019 for the same house, mostly because interest rates are sitting at levels we have not seen in decades. The only way for rates to drop is if inflation keeps falling, which it has. But we are going to need massive cuts for housing to become affordable. Again, the average rate for a 30-year mortgage is between 6 and 7%, and the homeownership rate for young people is falling off a cliff. The median age for a first-time homebuyer is now 40 years old, which is the highest in history. In the 90s, it was your late 20s or early 30s, but that world is gone. If you are making 45 grand a year, you cannot afford a home, and it would take years of extreme discipline just to get a down payment. Debt levels are exploding because people are using credit cards to fund a lifestyle they can no longer afford. Total household debt is over $17 trillion, and auto loan delinquencies are at a 20-year high. Americans are financially fragile, and a small emergency of $500 could completely break most families. Layoffs are quietly increasing, and job cuts in October hit the highest level in 22 years. This has been the worst year for layoffs since 2009, which should be extremely alarming to anyone who thinks their corporate job is a safe haven. Tech companies are laying off tens of thousands of people, including giants like Amazon and Verizon. This is not just a few people, it is a structural shift in how companies view their workforce. People are feeling higher prices, higher debt, and slower wage growth all at once. It feels like a crisis because it is a crisis of confidence and liquidity. I am not here to fear-monger, but I am here to tell you that the era of cheap money is over. We are in a high interest rate environment because the Fed had to fight the inflation caused by the massive money printing of 2020. Americans got hooked on cheap money from 2008 to 2021, and people got used to winning financially without actually trying. That era of participation trophies in the stock market is dead. Companies are cutting back heavily because debt is expensive, and they want to impress Wall Street by slashing expenses. One easy way to cut expenses is to stop hiring and start firing. I work at a Fortune 500 company, and I see the job cuts happening daily. Housing is completely out of sync because people are locked into 3% rates and they will never sell. This creates a supply vacuum that keeps prices high even as demand drops. The government is drowning in $34 trillion of debt, and the interest alone is $1 trillion a year. That is more than we spend on the military. The choices are to raise taxes, print more money, or cut services. And every single one of those options makes your life harder. People do not trust the economy, the housing market, or the politicians. The stock market is being propped up by 7 companies while everything else stalls. We might see a slow burn recession, which is a long period of struggle with flat wages and high prices. Unemployment will likely rise, and younger workers will feel the pain first. The job market for 23-year-olds is atrocious right now, and I feel for anyone trying to start a career in this mess. We could see a housing freeze where nothing happens until rates drop significantly. The Fed wants to avoid the mass inflation of the 70s, so they will keep rates higher for longer than you want. Markets are becoming volatile, and while I am not panicking because I have discipline, emotional investors are getting shredded. To protect yourself, you need to strengthen your own personal balance sheet immediately. Get rid of high-interest debt and build an emergency fund of at least $100. Avoid lifestyle creep like the plague because it destroys more wealth than any market crash. If you get a raise, do not spend it, just invest it. Try to become layoff-proof by building skills that a company cannot replace, like revenue generation or complex problem-solving. Keep your network active before you actually need it. Use volatility to your advantage because wealthy people buy when things look bleak. Keep it simple and buy index funds like VOO or VTI. I invest every 2 weeks regardless of what the news says because dollar cost averaging beats emotion every time. Increase your income by asking for a raise with data or by switching jobs every few years. The new company does not know your old salary, so you have the leverage. Start a skill-based side hustle if you have the energy, or just learn something that increases your hourly rate. Build a recession-proof life by living below your means during the easy years, so you have cash during the hard years. Do not make big emotional decisions when the economy is unstable. Look at 2030, not 2025. Every downturn in history has led to more innovation and higher markets for those who stayed in the game. This is where future millionaires are quietly built while everyone else is complaining. America is entering a financial crisis, but that does not mean you have to participate in it. Stay disciplined, stay calm, and be prepared for the opportunity that follows the crash. If you stay ready, you do not have to get ready.